Stephen Moffat has returned for his first Doctor Who episode in nearly 7 years, and he may have just written a new all-timer. Okay, so I know I said I wasn't going to necessarily do any more of these first impressions videos, but I just thought because I'm going to be busy during the next week or so, and it's going to take me a while to get my Boom review out, and obviously I don't even have my Devil's Cord review out yet, although that is ready for early access now and will be going out on Friday. I just thought because of all that, I'm going to do a quick first impressions while I've got the chance on Boom, which I saw this morning. I'm now filming this in the evening because I've been at work all day. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. So, like I basically hinted at the intro of this video, I think Stephen Moffat has returned for another all-time episode, which I'm surprised he can do after obviously being the showrunner and writing like the most Doctor Who episodes out of any writer. It's genuinely impressive that he can come back and write another all-time classic, which is what I believe Boom is. This episode just is a masterclass in writing tension and building suspense. With such a simple plot of the Doctor stepping on a landmine, it's just incredibly done. Obviously, it allows for some great acting from both Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson. This is probably the best they've both been in the whole series so far, particularly with Ncuti. Obviously Millie was great in this as well, but she is like dead for the last half or final act of this story, so particularly with Ncuti because he's just incredible in this episode. If I wasn't already sold on him as the Doctor, this episode certainly does sell you on him being the Doctor. He's incredible. Obviously there's also quite a few themes in this episode. The one I particularly latched onto the most is capitalism and its effect on war. Obviously the reveal that they're not fighting anybody, it was a little bit easy to figure out, but I feel like that's kind of intentional. You're meant to be able to kind of start piecing it together quite early on because even the Doctor is kind of mocking the other characters for not figuring it out yet. But I think that commentary on capitalism and warfare was just incredible in this episode. There's obviously also commentary on AI and also commentary on faith, which I think was done really well in this episode. For me personally, I'm not really a person of faith. I don't subscribe to any religion, but even with that being said, I was kind of worried that the Doctor would just kind of be slating religion as a whole in this episode, and that would obviously annoy quite a few people. But I'm glad he does kind of see some reason behind it in the end, and I think that was a really nice thing to finish and cap this episode off at. In terms of the actual plot and the episode itself, I don't really know if I have much else to say right now. I'm going to obviously be trying to write down some thoughts for my review, so forgive me if I've not mentioned anything in specific right now. I do like a lot of the references in this, particularly some deep cuts like the whole villain guard thing, which I honestly forgot was a thing until people were pointing it out in the images that had been released before this episode aired, so I think that was really cool. And we obviously get a nice reference to fish fingers and custard at the end of the episode. But yeah, like I said, I'll probably be saving a lot more specific details about this episode for my full in-depth review, which should be coming within the next couple of weeks. Probably not this coming Friday because that's when my Devil's Cord review is going to be coming out, and like I said, I'm going to be quite busy this week, but probably the Friday after that. One other thing I should probably mention is the visual effects in this episode are absolutely incredible. Obviously, a lot of these visual effects were in camera because they used not technically the volume as they talked about in the commentary, but just a similar thing to the volume, which was that big LED screen. So a lot of these visual effects were in camera, and for that, it just really makes this episode look incredible. And it makes a lot of sense to use that technology for this episode as well, because obviously the location that they're on for the majority of the episode, this one crater that they're in where the landmine is placed, is such a small location, and they're obviously in that one place for pretty much the whole episode, so it makes sense to use this technology for that, and I think it works perfectly. And another thing to mention is obviously, well, I say obviously, although some people might not have noticed or only noticed after the episode, but Varada Sethu is in this episode playing Mundi, who I think was just a great character, and her relationship with the other character, I think his name was Kanto, was really good in this. They were both great in this episode, but it does leave me wondering what the situation with Varada Sethu and her being the companion is going to be. From watching Confidential, it sounded more like she just happened to be playing this character in this episode, and maybe Russell saw how good she was and decided she'd be great as the companion, who seems to be a different character, not the same returning character when she becomes the companion. But then in the commentaries, it sounds like it could maybe be a bit of a different thing. It sounds like it is maybe going to be linked somehow to this character, so I'm not really sure how it's going to be. Possibly kind of like Clara Oswald vibes or something like that, or maybe it is just going to be the same character returning, but I doubt it is the same character. So let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. What do you think the whole thing with Varada Sethu returning as the companion is going to be about, and do you think it's going to be linked to this episode? And whilst we're on the topic of talking about Stephen Moffat episode and Stephen Moffat's return, because I haven't made a whole dedicated video to this or anything, we obviously now know that Stephen Moffat is officially returning for the Christmas special this year, which is very interesting. After this episode, I'm really excited to see it. It's going to be called Joy to the World. We know Nicola Coughlan's going to be in it. And yeah, it is very interesting because usually the showrunner is the one who writes the Christmas specials. So it's interesting this time around that we're actually getting somebody else that isn't the showrunner or the current showrunner writing the Christmas special this time around. But I will say, for me personally, although I like a lot of Russell T Davies' Christmas specials, Moffat's Christmas specials on the whole were usually a lot better, particularly during the start of his era, but some of the other ones were quite good as well. I'm thinking mostly like Christmas Carol and stuff like that. Some really great Christmas specials from Moffat. So especially after this episode and from his previous Christmas specials, I'm very excited to see him write in this year's Christmas special, Joy to the World. So let me know what you think about that as well in the comments down below. Like I said, I am going to be doing a full in-depth review for this later on, but I just wanted to get these first impressions out now because I'm going to be quite busy. And if you want to watch my review for Space Babies, that video is out now. And also, if you want to see my review for The Devil's Chord early, that is available now on Patreon, or if you become a member of the YouTube channel, whichever you prefer. So I'll make sure to have that on screen now as well.